Hello everyone, today we will be covering a story from our /true off my chest. If you want to see more like this, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Links to the original posts in the description box below. Anyways, onto the story. I'm dating the girl whose life I saved. Content warning, violence/death. Almost 2 years ago, I, 25M, got out of the army, and it only took 3 weeks for me to make friends with an architect guy, Nate, 36M, who seemed like a cool dude. One day Nate invited me over to watch football, and this night was when I met his GF Christina, 29F. Right from the beginning I had suspicions that Nate was physically abusing Christina, but I wasn't sure as I never saw him do anything besides insulting her, but I saw that she was kinda scared of him. On Nate's 35th birthday, he invited me and a few other guys and gals, and that night everyone was very drunk except for me and Christina. When everyone was already leaving the party, I saw a drunken Nate hit Christina for embarrassing him in front of the guests. He then saw that I watched him do that, and then jokingly said, "Women, right?" I didn't say anything and just left. The next day, all I could think about was Nate hitting Christina, and I felt bad because she made eye contact with me and I saw pain and suffering in her eyes. I didn't know what to do as I grew up in an environment where, if it doesn't involve you, don't step in. But I promised myself that I would put a stop to it if it happened again. On New Year's, Nate invited me to his New Year's party, and I accepted with the intent of interfering that night if he hits her. When I arrived to the party, everything was going smoothly until the end of the barbecue when everyone left, and it was only me, drunk Nate, and Christina, and I saw him hit her so hard her nose began to bleed. That was the last straw for me. I went over to him and I beat him down and punched him so hard I injured my hands and began using my elbows. I told Christina to call the cops and I left before they came. The next day I went to Nate's apartment to check on Christina and her nose looked broken, and I asked her if she had somebody she could stay with, and she said no. I felt really bad for her, so I offered her my spare bedroom until she could get herself on her own feet. She accepted my offer. A few days later, she opened up to me and told me that she tried to get help many times before, but no one helped her, and I was the only person who stepped in when she was being abused. Her family was pissed that she broke up with him as they made her date him because he made 6 figures. She stayed at my apartment for about 5 months, and then we started dating. I feel bad because her family basically cut contact with her because I don't make 6 figures like Nate. Unfortunately, since Christina was so mentally and physically abused by Nate, she constantly apologizes for anything and everything, and she always flinches when I make sudden movements in her direction. Christina is currently going to therapy for help, and she is slowly recovering. In 4 months will be our first year together. We've through a lot of shit in our relationship, but we got through it together. I'm going to buy a ring next month to propose on our anniversary. I had to get this off my chest. Thanks for reading my life story. Story 2. I left my wife and it took her over a week to notice. New to Reddit, so I hope I'm doing this right. I, M35, was married to my wife F35 for 8 years. I left her 5 years ago. We are child-free by choice, her choice. I had always said we had a good relationship in marriage, but looking back I see that it was good for her. Here's my story. I've always been the nerdy type. Smart, good grades, but never popular. I am from a very well-off family. Due to my grandparents' inheritance and some smart investments my parents did, I did not have to go to college or work and still have a comfortable life. But I love what I did. I met my wife my first year in college. She was in my class and was looking for a tutor. She was a scholarship kid. We spend more and more time together, but never in the weekend. I wasn't the outgoing type, and she would still go out in the weekend. After a while, we started going on dates, and after I graduated, we got married. Looking back, she started making decisions for us as soon as we got together. My wife worked the first half of our marriage, and when her company downsized, she got laid off. She became a stay-at-home wife, who was not at home that much. She had friends she took trips with, had a lit of lunches and dinners with her friends. Basically spend my money on her well-off lifestyle. While I remember our love life being passionate in the beginning, it's just that, a memory. When I was 29, I was involved in a car crash. They say a drunk driver totaled my car, but I still have no memory of that day. I was in a coma for 2 weeks. After waking up, I had to learn to do a lot again. After 4 months, I went back to work. When I came back home, my wife put me in the spare room. She said it has been like that a while because I was snoring. I kept my mouth shut, but I knew that this was new. The accident somehow gave me clarity of mind. I could see that the marriage has been over for a while, but I still wanted to see if I could save it. Everything I tried failed. What sealed the deal for me was my 30th birthday. I came home and she was not home. She was having a spa day with her friends. I ordered takeout, watched a movie, and made a decision. I wanted out. The next morning, I went to my lawyer to start drafting divorce papers. I stopped engaging with her unless absolutely necessary. Slowly, I started selling anything that had any emotional value to me. I left all her stuff for her. I bought a new car and left it at a parking garage not so far from our home. 1 month later, all I had left were my clothes and a couple of laptops, projector, portable screen. Everything I needed to work from the road. I did not quit my job. I arranged for it to be completely remote. 2 months after my birthday, I stayed while my wife was at yet another lunch with her girls. I took the new car, packed everything I needed in it, left the divorce papers and a letter on my bed in the spare room, and closed the door to my house for the last time, wondering how long it would take for her to notice. I decided to drive cross-country and visit every place I wanted to go but couldn't because my wife didn't want to. We had a prenup, so she had no rights to ask anything. In the letter I explained, I told her I was leaving and I would leave her the house and the car and would pay a sum every month for exactly a year after that she was on her own. In my own stupidity, I forgot to mention why I was leaving. This would work out in my favor. 10 days after I left, I got a text from my wife asking me where I was and if this was a joke. She called me, but I didn't pick up. I never pick up the phone while driving. I had an automated text send that said, "I'm driving and we'll call back later." She sent me text after text after text. That night I stopped in a motel and decided to read the texts before calling her back. First, she was asking if this was a joke, then asking when I will come back, then begging me to come back, not knowing why I left, and then she said something. She was sorry and it didn't mean anything and she will cut him off. She was having an affair. Something I never suspected. I called her cell phone and she was at her parents'. I learned this tactic from TV. She started yelling at me and I hung up. I waited 1 minute and called back. She started yelling again and I hung up again. I waited 2 minutes and called back again. This time she wasn't yelling and I started talking. I told her that she was going to let me talk first, and after I said what I needed to say, and then she could ask questions. I told her why I left. We were married but living like roommates, not even roommates because they at least acknowledge each other. I don't remember the last time we had a conversation. The last time we did something together. I didn't remember the last time we had sex, but I know it was before the accident. I told her that for a month before leaving I stopped talking and sold everything I had in the house and she didn't even notice. That it took her 10 days after I left before she noticed I was gone. If she had called me on the day I left, I would have turned around immediately. I ended with, "Thank you for admitting to the affair. I really didn't know about that." She tried to apologize, and when she asked me to come back, I asked her why. If she could explain to me why I would consider it. What was in it for me? What would change? She couldn't answer. So I said goodbye and told her my lawyer knows how to contact me. Then I blocked her. The next day I bought a new phone with a new number and left the old one in the motel. 2 weeks later, I got an email from my lawyer that the divorce papers were signed. I was free. I kept my word. My lawyer already had all documents signed by me that would transfer ownership of the house and the cars to her. The bank automatically deposits a fixed amount to our shared account every month for a year. Where we are now. For the past 5 years, I have been driving across the country, working remotely. I finally had a reason to start social media. I posted online where I've been and where I'm going. I stay in a place for a couple of weeks and drive to the next. My ex-wife started following me on Instagram a year after I left, and out of curiosity, I looked at her public posts. I'm not planning on following her back. She posted pics with her boyfriend soon after I left. To her credit, she did not badmouth me, at least not in Instagram. 2 months after I left, they apparently broke up. That was the last time I really had an update of her. I also have a sex life now. Once I put myself out there, it turned out to be easier to have casual sex. No committed relationship. Now after years, I'm going back to my hometown. There is a reunion I want to attend. I'm staying for a month, maybe 2, and then I'm going to Canada. I have no plans of looking up my ex, but I will also not actively avoid her. If I see her, I'll see her. If I don't, I don't.